Hello everyone, this is Shaili. Welcome to Compliance Cafe, the podcast where we break down key provisions of the corporate law in simpler terms. Joining with us today is Ms. Susanna, a corporate governance expert, and today we are going to dive into Section 185 of the Companies Act 2013, one of the most misinterpreted sections of the corporate law. If you are a student or a corporate professional or just a learner, I think this conversation is going to offer you some clarity and perspective. So let's dive in. So, Susanna, let's start with what is Section 185 of the Companies Act 2013?
Okay. Section 185 of the Companies Act 2013 prevents the misuse of the funds which are given by the company in the form of loans or securities or guarantees which are advanced in connection of the loans to the director. The main purpose is to make sure that the director does not personally derive any benefit from such loans given or securities or guarantees which are given in connection with such loans. Now, Section 185, the main purpose is also to restrict the company from giving loans directly or indirectly to the directors or any relative of a director or to any person in whom the director is interested. However, Section 185 is not completely restrictive since there are certain exemptions given. Now, the following two conditions will have to be fulfilled in order to give loans to directors. Number one, a special resolution will have to be passed in the general meeting taking the approval of the shareholders. And secondly, the loan has to be taken only to fulfill the primary business objectives of the company.
Okay, so this sums up basic understanding of Section 185 of the Act.
Yes.
All right, so we got a basic understanding of what is Section 185 of the Companies Act 2013. Now I understand that the Act completely prohibits giving loans to its own directors. But you mentioned that a person in whom any of the director of the company is interested can be advanced loan to. Can you please elaborate?
Yes. So a person in whom the director is interested in basically means that this company's director can also be a director or a member of another private company, a body corporate where the director is holding not less than 25% of voting rights, and a body corporate where the managing director or the whole time director are accustomed to act in accordance with the instruction of the director or the board of directors of the lending company.
All right. To sum up, under Section 185 of the Companies Act, you cannot give a loan to a director. That is a big red flag. However, you can actually advance a loan to any of the person in whom the director is interested, but you have to follow certain compliances and procedures. So, moving on, are there any exceptions whereby a company can actually give a loan to a director?
Yes, there are certain exceptions under Section 185. So, a company can give loans to its managing director or its full time director subject to the following two conditions. Number one, the scheme will have to be approved by the members in the meeting of the members by passing a special resolution. And secondly, in accordance with the normal employee conditions, if a company's primary business activity is granting loans like that of an NBFC, then such companies are also exempt under Section 185, subject to one small condition that the interest yield rate has to match that of the government's. Of course, wholly owned subsidiaries are also exempt from this condition, which means the company can advance loans or give guarantees or securities in connection with these loans. A company can also give guarantee or security in respect of a loan taken by the subsidiary company, subject to the fact that the company has taken loan from a financial institution.
All right. I think this clears a lot of confusion that the people face when they prima facie read this provision. Now, you mentioned before that giving a loan to a director directly or indirectly, both are prohibited. Can you please tell us about indirect loans?
Okay, so under Section 185, like we've already discussed before, giving loans to director directly is prohibited. But that does not mean that you can give loans indirectly through other methods, other tactics, which means you cannot give loan to the director through any other person, through any other entity. So sum this up. You cannot give a loan directly to a director, you cannot give it indirectly. You'll have to adopt a see through approach where you'll have to actually see through the transaction. You have to see if the transaction, if the money involved is actually for the benefit of the company or is it for the personal benefit of the director?
Okay, so I think the intent of the lawmaker is very much clear. Giving loans directly or indirectly to its own directors is strictly prohibited, whereby they are personally benefiting from such loans. So, my next question is, does Section 185 bring in the concept of shadow director? And also, what does the expression accustomed to act mean?
Okay, the expression accustomed to act and the concept of shadow directors are intertwined with each other. Let's start with the expression accustomed to act. Accustomed to act basically means when the board of directors are acting on the basis of any instructions which are received from a person who's not part of the board. This throws light on the concept of shadow director. Shadow director is a person who's not officially appointed as a director on the board. Now, we all have this presumption, or it is rather assumed that the board of directors always act independently. That means they take their independent decisions. So, if there is any person who's putting an allegation that the board is not acting independently, then the onus to prove that the board is not acting independently lies on the same person.
So I think one thing is very clear that a company has to be very much careful while dealing with its own directors, because you never know that when the provisions of section 185 will be applicable to them. So Hussaina, we have been talking about a company a lot. Let's talk about LLP. What happens when the company wants to give a loan to an LLP in which the director of the company is a partner or is interested?
Okay, so like we've already talked about this, Shelly. Under section 185, subsection 1, a company cannot directly advance a loan to its director. One thing. Secondly, a company also cannot advance a loan to any firm where the director or the relative of a director is a partner. So this clarifies a company cannot directly give a loan to any firm where the director is a partner, like in your case. Now, however, this is not completely restrictive because if you pass a special resolution and you take the approval of the shareholders, this is very much possible.
Okay, I think this clears a lot for us. So I think we have all understood what Section 185 is and what are its restrictions and where can the company give loan to its directors or the person in whom the director is interested. Now, but what if after all of this, if the company inadvertently fails to comply the provisions of Section 185? What are the penalties that the company will have to bear?
Okay, so I'll keep it very simple. If any company fails to comply with provisions of Section 185 or any of the subsections of Section 185, then the following will be the penalties. Okay, the company will be subject to a penalty of minimum 5 lakh rupees, which goes up to 25 lakh rupees. Any officer in default will be subject to imprisonment of up to 6 months, a penalty of minimum 5 lakh rupees, and which can go up to maximum 25 lakh rupees. Now, any director or the person to whom the loan was given, these two people, if they fail to comply with any provision, again, they will be subject to imprisonment of up to 6 months, penalty of minimum 5 lakh rupees, which goes up to maximum 25 lakh rupees.
Perfect. So I think after this conversation, I think I can speak on behalf of all of us. A lot of our doubts are cleared. Thank you so much, Hosanna, for being with us here and sharing your valuable insight with us. Follow us for more such content.